Hey everybody, welcome back to Roadside Nuggets. Woo! Give me 1 second. I just try to get this thing to start recording. I don't know if I'm doing it or is it. I don't know if it's working. All right, it's working. Coolio. All right, so today I felt to really start off. I don't know why, but the Angels just really wanted me to start off with kind of like the story of creation a little bit, and from the beginning. You know, like they want to go back to the basics more and get some clarity, right? And with clarity, the core points, the core truth, that's what's really going to help guide and navigate everybody towards, really understanding things, right? So since the beginning, so this is how Mom has always shared the beginning of creation always started, right? So in the beginning of creation, there was just love and there was just the unknown, okay? In the beginning of anything, before anything actually existed, there was only two polarities. And that was just the unknown, the great grand abyss of unlimited possibilities. And then, of course, you have unconditional love, pure unconditional love. So now those two, polarities, basically Mother God of all creation, prime source creator, self-realized herself out of these two polarities and thus created herself out of it. Thus the first fully realized conscious being, whatever God is at this point is called in that higher vibration, that was Mom, the first. And so from Mom, she created the twin flame love mirror. So that was Father God. By the way, I'm not talking about Jason right now, it's Father God. We're talking about energetics, talking about things much beyond the physicality, before humanity even came into scope of God's ideas, right? So in the beginning, when Father God was created as Mom's ultimate divine love mirror, together they created the universe. And from the universe, that's where, for long moments, the universe was really what existed. That's what was creation at that point in time. And we went throughout creation, and co-created planets, different conscious beings, different everything with Mom. And we were a part of that process in every sense of the way, all the way from the ideas and co-creation all the way down to physically incarnating as these different beings on these different planets that we had helped Mom create, and actually living experiences through those experiences. And we were the first ones. That's how magical and amazing everyone truly is. And at this point too, as we go further, there was, of course, the great pulling away. The first one that broke away, Jehovah, that created fear of separation from God. From that, it created a whole long trail of devastating things that we're not going to go into. We're going to keep it very light today. And, those experiences and everything that it created from that, basically it came about that there needed to be a mission that needed to be embarked on. And this mission is so old, it actually started 19 billion years ago. So, not to be linear, however, for there to be a mission, first off, there had to be already something going on for there to be a mission in order to correct it. So that just shows you how much had been really already been going on, in creation within that universe before the mission came about, the 19 billion year mission. And, when this mission came about, basically the conclusion we came to is that Father God would descend into the deepest of the darkest, energetics, all the way to the bottom, the lowest dimensions. And basically he would master the darkness. Meanwhile, at the same moment, Mom would continue moving higher. She would continue expanding and creating higher and higher realities and creations, because creation had to keep going. Mom had to keep expanding. She could never stop, and so basically this is when that happened. And so when Father went down and Mom went up, a lot of us went with Father down into the darkness to, take on those dark contracts and roles with Father God as part of the divine creed, the divine plan. And the rest of us went up with the light and Mom to help her keep on continue co-creating and expanding creation further that way. So it was a massive plan. Over 19 billion years, there's been a lot that's happened, and at some point, in the middle of this mission, at some point in this time, mom reached a point where she needed to expand even further, right? At this point, Father God was still down in the darkness. He was still mastering the dark, so therefore he could not leave his role and come up to meet mom, because that was his task. He was holding that polarity of creation at that point and transforming it. So therefore, mom had to create another divine twin flame, another reflection of her ultimate love, and that was Father Multiverse. And with him, that's where the multiverses were created. Mom was able to expand the universe into multi-universes and kept on expanding and creating creation that way, because she still had to keep on creating and birthing. There's just some interesting information, and it's been a while since we've talked about, these different things, or even gone that far back into, the story of creation at all. And those things are so fascinating, because that's exactly how, every single being on this planet physically has been through incarnation and so many different times, right? Even if we're beings that there is interesting cases, for some people, certain beings that have come to mission, have been on mission, they haven't had a lot of human lives. And just because you haven't had a lot of human lives doesn't necessarily mean you haven't had a lot of other physical incarnations or other lives. You have had tons. The human incarnation experience is a tough one. It's not an easy process to go through, and hear how dense everything has been and how our physical senses, interact with that, just from what we are as a soul. That's a lot for a soul to take on, to transform, to record, to exist through. Therefore, the only ones that are permitted down here, the only ones that were chosen by mom to come down here for these incarnations, were the souls that had been through all the training. You had, intentionally, over thousands and thousands and thousands of years, lifetimes, this was the ultimate goal for all of us. 19 billion years ago, this was the ultimate goal. To push all the darkness that had spread throughout the universe and the multiverses. And over those 19 billion years, mom and Father God were going to push and squeeze this darkness to a center point. From all of the universes and the multiverses, they were going to scrape it all up into the center, into one spot. And that was Earth, this planet, this physical planet. This is the last place in creation that is in this kind of chaos and dysfunction and disconnected from God. Not in alignment with the divine plan, or even understands that God's even a woman. This is the only planet in creation that's completely off track and has been off track. Everything else has been, cleaned up by mom. Mom had already, with the rest of us in the other lifetimes, we had already gone through the other planet systems and star systems and cleared those parts of the universes, with mom, and ascended those planets with her. This is the last one. So with this process, it's yes, everything you've been through before, of course, but yet this is the biggest step, because it's the densest, it's the darkest, it's the most corrupt. Meaning that this was going to really take everything every soul had to come down here, submerge deep into this muck, and still rise up out of it and ascend this planet physically as per plan, without missing a beat. It had to happen. And that's where, every single soul on this planet, doesn't matter what the experience looks like, doesn't matter how someone is choosing to live, every single person on this planet with a soul is a divine part of mom. There's a difference between if someone is activated and really, coming online and is embodying the higher self. That's, that there's a big difference between that. The body is not a soul. The physical body is just a vessel. So it's the choice, it's the awareness, the consciousness, in that body, what they're choosing every moment. That's what they're embodying. So of course, at any moment, anyone can choose to be divine, of course. But of course, it requires a choice. And then at that moment, it would change your energetic frequency immediately as soon as you make the choice. So, all this is it's such a fascinating story to really express, because now that we are here on this physical planet, and this is the last place the darkness was squeezed to, this was the part of the plan where mom was going to come down, and actually physically incarnate to help us all finish the last part of the race, because we were not going to be able to make it without her. And this was also part of the soul contract, was to find mom in the physical, to connect with mom, to reach out, to communicate, and to start that process, to start that relationship with God on some level. And that is, definitely ultimately for any spiritualist, for any person in spiritual anything, obviously the higher awareness, the higher energetics, the higher consciousness, where does it amount to? Where is it going to? Of course, there's a prime source creator. Of course, there's a head God above all of us. That is the centerfold that connects everything, every single one of our faces together. And so this is where we reach, the humanity's pride, where even the lightworker community, with all the work they've put into things, with how much they've invested in their own practice, their own modalities, that they've, created whatever they think they've created out of it. I don't know. That we're reaching a point where it's like, are you willing to let it go? How much are you willing to let go? Because a lot of people in like the spiritual community, they feel like they've already made it, on a certain level, to where they're not willing to let go of even a practice they've mastered and have practiced for 10, 20 plus years. That's the whole point, is once you master it, you move on to something else. And there's like this fear is like, no, like I'm 40, I'm 50, 60 years old, I've been doing this my whole life, this is my thing. It's like, it's not your thing, and this is where we identify again with the things outside of ourselves. But even for this, let's just keep this simple with just the spirituality part and the spiritual community, where a lot of the spiritual gifts and the amazing talent and skills are completely wasted away every single day, because they're wasted on self-importance, they're wasted on, focusing on their own life agenda in this physical reality. And it's bizarre. I found this actually pretty interesting when I went to, certain, spiritual light workers, healers, people with Reiki and things like that. And I would listen to people have like these amazing conversations about, outer space, extraterrestrials, connecting, with other consciousnesses, and working with energies and elements and elementals, and, working with fairies and all these amazing grand things, right? And it's like, it was for just that conversation. And it's like, as long as they weren't, and when they weren't talking about it anymore, they went back into this 3D type mode, whereas like they were a normal 3D civilized conformed being. Their behavior, everything went straight back into the robot. But the moment you start talking about these bigger things, or they had a session, or they were actively working on this or sharing this with somebody, they lit up. They were a different person, right? And this is where like you realize a certain part of it is not even a real reality for them. They've grown to a point where it's like, yes, this is their hobby. Yes, these are the things they love to do. Yes, they understand this so well that they can actually teach this to other people. But they don't feel like they can live by it. It's just a thing that they've acquired, like something they could put on their belt that they can flash somebody if it ever comes down to it. But it's not something they actually value and really support in their own self, to be willing to do that even if nobody else is around, even nobody else validates you or relies on you. And that's another thing too, the savior martyr programming within the spiritual lightworker community, needing someone to depend on you, needing someone to be able to have to rely on you for your wisdom, your support, your whatever, your healing. That is a very, very dangerous road to play with. And there's quite a few people who have caught on to it, and they realize like, no, that's like, the taking, and just the not not being real, with yourself. Like you're gonna hit a brick wall, a cancel out, a counteract point in your experience where it's gonna reach so much of a momentum that you've incurred a karmic debt, because you can only go each way, and which way you go is that's where the energy is going to flow. The energy is not going to be doing something different, separate from what your actions are doing. So if you're doing those actions, that's the energy that's coming in. That's the energy that's flowing. It's not going to be anything else. So, getting to the point where we're in the same reality with ourselves. We know what our intentions are. We know what our purposes are. We know what, our dreams are, what we even are intending to do in this moment. What we're good at, what we would like to improve on, work on, learn. It could be anything you haven't even learned yet. Just learn it. And, how limited humanity lives in our lives, yet those same human beings that live such controlling, limited lives are the same beings that have done this ascension process so many times over in other physical lives. And so there's a certain point, it's like, should you have sympathy? No. You should not have sympathy at all. Because every single being on this planet has been through the tests. That said, that God said, okay, you're clear to go. Green light. Get down there. I'll be there shortly. Right? So, if everybody got the green light to be down here, there's nobody that is completely helpless. Not a single person on this planet is helpless. If you made it here onto this planet and you are walking around two legs, even if you can't walk, you're here, you're living and you're breathing in a physical body, you have a massive part in this physical ascension process, and you didn't make it here by skipping by the line that had to go through God. She was fully aware of every soul that was sent down here because she's the one that signed off on it. So we get to this point where it's like, okay, if we're not helpless, now obviously God sees a lot more in us than we can see right now. What do we do with that? What's next? Trust, faith, hope, surrender. Those things are what's next, because there is a jump. Not gonna lie to you, there is a jump. There is a lot of jumps you're gonna have to take, and each one is gonna win you back something, a part of yourself. But you have to be willing to live. You have to be willing to put yourself out there and experience it and see what it's all about, because you spent too much time, humanity, inside the house with closed doors, too scared to actually live life anymore. Everything you watch, everything you hear, everything that you've experienced to this point says pain. It says fear. What a part of that does anyone want a part of anymore? Nobody. Yet, these are the same things that where we will go out and we will put on a show for humanity. We'll put on a show for our family and our friends and our co-workers at work and the people at our church. And then when we go home, we're not okay. We're not happy. Things are not all right. And we know that. And then what is this nonchalant, I'll just shoulder on type mode? I'll just, yes, roll with the punches, but what are you really getting at? Right? I just shared with you the story of creation from the very beginning of how long things have really been going on and where you have been in all of that. Hello? Hello? I don't know, that was weird. Someone said something. Oh no. I totally... My bad, Telegram. That was totally my bad. Somebody started talking and I didn't know and I accidentally scrolled out of it and it canceled the whole thing. So, yeah, I'll put that back on. My bad, everybody. Did not mean to do that. Oh no, I just lost everybody. That's sad. Hello? Oh, wait. Now it's going. I wasn't even recording this entire time on the Telegram. Okay. Well, now we've got it going. So it's a mute. It was on mute. Okay, that's dumb. I was like, if you're going to start recording something, why would you start on unmuted and then you have to unmute it to start talking. Whatever. Smart technology. It is what it is. Okay. So I'm very sorry, Telegram people. I promise this will be a lot better tomorrow. But so basically, I was sharing like the story of creation from the beginning a little bit, and just to go back a little bit into that, how we have been everything. We have most of us on this planet, especially the 144,000, have been everything in creation. Every single incarnation, been through all the planets. This is a 19 billion year mission that started out 19 billion years ago. So, you imagine all the different planets that we've co-created with God. We've created from the ideas down to actually physically being on these planets. Being a part of it, being the plants, the water, the trees, the rocks, the birds, the animals, all the way up to the physical beings, the conscious humanoid beings. On those planets, we were those as well. Arcturians, Andromedans, Pleiadians, all of them. Most of us have been all of them. And this is where you can see where the spiritual community gets off track in a lot of ways, where they start focusing. Yes, these things are real. Yes, these things may have happened, but it's almost like they want to go back to them, and they don't realize where we all are now in the present moment. That's so far behind us. Those are fragments in a moment that are too far gone, and everything else has also expanded, evolved, and has lived on from those points as well. So from what we try to say and try to remember from like 2,000 years ago in a different lifetime, how that's still relative to the Andromedans now. Everything in life and creation expands and changes like that constantly. So if you feel the Andromedans are the same as they were 2,000 years ago when you were probably a Andromedan, they're not. Everything has expanded and changed since then. So the attachment that we have to where what we have been, who we are, what's in our codes and stuff like that, let it go. It's a waste of time. Because in this moment, and just to kind of freshen things up for everyone, when it came to this part in the incarnation process, in the divine plan for this physical planetary ascension, all the different lifetimes you have been over these past 19 billion years, you've never been more physically embodied with your higher self than you have been in this lifetime. Does it make sense? It doesn't seem like it. Because you're like, oh, well, in Atlantis and all those other different moments, there's, magic and different powers, and we were doing a lot of other cool stuff. We were working with crystals. We had flying things. Yeah, we did. And Mom turned it all off. What you are looking at right now, humanity, is basically the nutshell of everything. All those different moments before where those things relatively definitely did happen, and we were very much a part and a participant in that experience, whether we were, the, quote unquote, the good guys or the bad guys, doesn't matter what we were in the experience, that was very much real. It happened. And we could see already how much of a corrupt, disastrous outcome that came to in every time, right? Destroying ourselves. So obviously ask yourself, what good would that do us if this was the moment, this was the timeline, this was, the part of the timeline where humanity was going to actually ascend? What good would it do us if all of that was still a factor in our equation? It wouldn't serve us at all. It would be a massive problem. Because you can see how, the lack of restraint that humanity has of themselves now. The lack of accountability and responsibility for their choices and actions that they do now. If we had more stuff to worry about, oh my gosh, it'd be a mess. We'd be swimming in disaster. More than what we have now. So Mom turned it all off completely. She shut it all down, and she set the grid around this planet to a certain tone to where a lot of those things are not accessible. Certain crystal technologies, higher vibrational technologies for other realities, not accessible. Not able to use those in these moments right now, temporarily, because humanity has to get the basics. We got to get the core basic of just like our own, getting reins on our own energetics. Because if you have a higher divine gift, a higher, ability, to work with energy and consciousness, and you don't understand just the relativity of being responsible for your own thoughts or your own intentions or actions, you could go down left field very, very quickly with that, and when you're not watching yourself. Most of humanity, again, I say this almost every live stream, most of humanity is disassociated. They're not even in the same reality. They don't want to be in their own life. So, all these other things that are happening in life, they're missing it. They're not plugging in. They're not understanding what's going on. No way on God's beautiful green earth would she allow such an aloof human race to be privy to having other higher energetic abilities. That would be chaos completely. It would probably be World War IV for real on some massive scale. It'd be crazy. So, God is good. God is wise. God is always a billion steps ahead of us, no matter what we choose or what we're doing. So, gratefully, Mom turned all of that off, and she shut it all down, and she changed and moved the energetics around. And since those moments, Mom's been incarnating different moments throughout, throughout her history on this planet of the human race. It was an interesting. There was a couple days ago. It was probably like 2 or 3 days ago. I was like super triggered. I was super triggered about something. I was like steamy about it. I was like sitting outside, and I feel the angels kind of like helping me get like my thoughts off of it. And for out of nowhere, out of the blue, they just started like going back to not the beginning of creation, but more about this planet. And there's a lot of things I've put together, and just through asking questions to Mom or just what the angels have filled in, there's a lot like a bigger picture I have now about that. But then I always wonder. I was like, too, of course, this universe was the first, right? And this universe was the first, and then for long moments before the other multi-universes were created. So it was just this universe. And so if that's true, and this planet is the first planet created. This planet is the first celestial body that was actually molded into creation. All the other planets in all the multiverses came after this very one that you are living on. That's how sacred and how beautiful and how much of a very holy place this planet is to all of creation. It's Mom's heart. And I always had an awareness, because in some of the other multiverses, of course, there is some forms of physicality on some of the planets out there. Mom said that not all of them, most of them are not physical. Most of them have no aspect of physicality in it at all. It's all etheric. And so the beings that live on those planets are ethereal beings. They're not physical beings. So the experiences are very vast and different across the multiverses, no matter where you go. And I always wonder, I was like, well, if this is the first planet, then this is probably the most evolved, even though it currently is sitting in one of the lowest dimensions, right? And it was an interesting epiphany, because then, I was like, well, is there anything else it's mirroring? Is there other planets like Earth in the other multiverses? Are they reflections of it? And it was this interesting thing where, like, for the longest period of time, this was the only universe. So, of course, Mom had built a lot into the blueprint of this universe. This universe is almost like the foundational blueprint for the rest of the multiverses that existed after. So we are literally in, some of the oldest, most ancient celestial energies in creation itself. This is where Mom keeps creating and birthing things out. And then there was another part in there where, kind of like this physical planet represents a lot for creation. Everything is a reflection. And so most of creation is not physical. Therefore, creation is actually living through humanity, living through the animals, living through the plants and the crystals and stones, the water, the air, living through the elements in the earth and on the earth and around. Creation is having the physical experience in so many different ways because they have not had yet the experience of actually incarnating, so they come through and connect with the consciousness. It was a lot like how Mom would she would have parades sometimes, or grand showings. I forgot what she would call them. Like they were like a show day, and then basically she would invite all creation just to come in that day, and mom just be there chilling. It'd be like another day on mission like usual, but there would be creation. All the angels would literally be coming in, and they would be flowing through. Mom would let them come in and see what the physicality looks like through her, and just kind of experience physicality for a moment. And that would be their show day of like, let's go down to physicality on earth and see what the humans experience is like for a moment. And through that, and just through mom physically being here on the planet all this time, creation is able to come through her vessel and actually understand what's actually going on. I've shared moments before where there was like a lot of arguments mom would get into with the angels, and it really provided a big perspective for me, because I never really understood. Like God said, all of creation is in unity consciousness. So of course, where we are, we would automatically assume that the galactics and the angels automatically just know what's going on right here, what we're going through immediately. And the truth is, a lot of times no. Because one, they've never been physical before, most of them. A lot of the beings on the Great Grand Council have never been physical, yet they are the Great Grand Council, you see. So there's a lot of, not gaps or holes, there's different varieties of experiences where they are etheric. They see energy. They see the higher timeline. They see how the energy is moving around and what's going on with the energy, even though they can't see physically. They're not in the physical experience to see what's going on. And so when mom was down here a lot of times, there's a lot of things that mom had to do that the angels debated mom with. They wanted mom to choose something else. They wanted mom to do something else, and she would, tell them no. I'm down here, you're not. Like, I am the director. We're gonna go this way. And mom had to put her foot down a couple of times, because it literally is that massive gap of an awareness where, they have no idea down here from a physical perspective what we're going through, what's been going on, how things look down here, and how really on eggshells everything really is walking on. It's such a fine line we're walking in these moments, and the angels, from the energetic standpoint, they see a lot of like the highest choice. So like, okay, highest choice. Of course, God can make the highest choice in all moments. However, humanity is still lost in ego. We still have an ego we are transforming and dissolving. Therefore, making the highest choice every single moment, I'm not going to say it's impossible. I'm not going to say that at all. However, it requires you to be in utmost 100% integrity, and that is not true for the rest of humanity right now. Learning what integrity is, learning to be responsible, learning to be accountable, that's what the energy needs. And humanity's not there yet. That's okay. That's just the present moment truth, though. And so, that's where mom, in a lot of moments where she had to either slow things down, regardless of what the divine plan said and what she had set up with the angels, humanity wasn't ready for a lot of things. Where mom had to slow things down, she had to delay things, she had to put things off, she had to like rework some things back around because humanity couldn't integrate it with it before, and then she had to do some more work, push an energy wave, then push the energetic out that she did before, just so they could integrate with it now. Mom was always step by step following right along humanity. What does humanity need? What's going to get them to wake up faster? What can I do energetically wise? What work can I do to, make their journey easier? That's always what mom was doing every single moment. And the angels, of course, understood this to an extent, but they did not understand the amount of pain and suffering that we have been in and that we are stuck in. And for the angels, they can transform instantly. So to watch a process prolong for long moments, the angels sometimes scratch their head. They're like, what's going on? Like they don't understand why it takes so long for an energetic to transform when, obviously in the highest truth, they're just like, yeah, just transform it. We're still working with a lower dynamic, a lower, programming that through these moments we're dissolving, yes, and it gets better, we get more masterful, we get stronger with it, and we can take on more energetics and move through more. That's still discipline, that's still practice, which most of humanity, again, is not at yet. So these crucial things that have to come into place, for beings to start understanding what it means to be a god, what it means to be a divine spark of God embodied in a physical vessel on this physical planet, what it means to be on this planet, these moments of what a global planetary ascension actually means, both for the planet and also for the human race. And what you got to do to make sure that you're in alignment with that and you are participating the fullest that you can, and you're fulfilling the roles that are divinely set for you by God. All these things need to be a priority. They need to be the utmost focus for everyone on this planet, which, again, it's not for humanity yet. It's coming. It's speeding up. It's moving very, very, very fast. And Mom is pulling all the punches for right now, okay? Because it's building up momentum. Then it's all going to be like a crashing wave, completely. Humanity, don't worry. Mom's going to make sure everyone is stable enough, I guess, in the experience, but it's going to shake you. It's going to shake humanity awake in a mean way. And I don't even know. I don't know fully what that energy is or what I've been seeing or feeling coming. It's a lot, though. And I saw this picture yesterday on Facebook. It was like I'm a fucking butterfly now. The caterpillar games are over or something. And it's just like, yeah, you're right. And like, it's a total flip. We're done with the whole like come inch by inch by inch by inch. Let's just do the whole metamorphosis. Let's get it over. Let's do the whole shift completely to whatever the divine perfection is set that Mom has in store for us. Let's just get there. Let's do it now. Okay. And definitely as we're moving further into, November 1st is like in 2 days, or less than 2 days now at this point, and that massive displacement energy coming in, let me share with you all, it's no joke. And it's not meant, again, to trigger fear or scare anybody, but however, this energy is to be, respected for what it's meant to correct and move into motion for the rest of this planet. This is a long-term or long-range, thank you, angels, a long-range effect, energetic, that Mom is pushing now. So as soon as this, it implements itself, and during November 1st, it's going to fully implement itself into the collective grid, the collective consciousness grid, which will be downloaded to the rest of humanity. Once that energy hits and integrates with humanity, it's going to cause massive disruptions. These disruptions are meant to cause a very palpable sense of displacement that you on many levels of your senses are going to detect. It is happening, okay? And one of the biggest points to this, to even this experience, is to get humanity to wake up. How do you get a collective of billions of people to wake up when they don't care, they're not willing to, they have too many things in their plans and their agenda to do, and they're just not really focused on what the main objective of being on this planet visibly right now is about? They don't care. They're worried about investments and 401ks and, retirement and cruise plans and you name it, the whole 9 yards. They're not focused on planetary ascension, okay? Where we have got to uproot people. And it's not in the sense of cruel way to where God is punishing people. No, she's going to shake people awake. She's going to put humanity in the wash machine. And when these things that we have controlled, we have attached to, we have grabbed and latched onto so strongly in life, and that we've told ourselves we've expected them to always be there, we have relied on these things in a codependency way, externally. When these things start moving on us, and we didn't command it to, we didn't want it to, when these things out of our own control, completely out of control, we have no control over it, when they start to shift and move around, it's gonna start striking a chord with the ego inside. Because there's been a lot of pride and arrogance and stubborn resistance in just codepending on these different things and just not really wanting to move forward or expand or grow. Now that these things are about to start changing around, disappearing, getting pulled and yanked out of your experience so fast, it's going to give people whiplash. It's going to cause a lot of triggers, which is the ultimate goal. if people are just content, if they've settled so much to the point where they don't want to try anymore, if they've just gotten to the point of contentment where they just don't care anymore about pushing for the highest joy or experience for themselves or for the collective, or what God wants, what God's gifts, what God's ultimate dream for each and every one of us and this collective planet is, you've got to get shaken awake. Okay? And so that's what's coming. It's going to unplug humanity in a lot of different ways to where, just our everyday behavioral patterns, our routines, the things we're so familiar with, the things we're used to doing all day, day in and out, the things we do every Saturday, every Friday, what we have every Tuesday night for dinner, everything, I'm telling you, everything is on the table for change in these moments. And as soon as November 1st gets here and the rest of the year, that energy is going to have a lot of fun playing around in the human experience. It's like, like the little, I'm sure everyone's seen Looney Tunes, the little Tasmanian devil, and he just comes, he's like spinning around, so like that. It's like, that's what the energy's like. It's just going to come in and just start pulling things out of nowhere and just turning it around, making chaos what appears to be chaos, because it's going against your control, because it's going against your belief systems, because it's going to trigger your anxiety, your fear, your stress, and your attachment. It's going to be chaos to you, because that's what the frequencies you're in. It's controlling all these things. If you weren't attached and in control of it, you wouldn't be so effective. But because you are going to have the experience of chaos, right? And that's to get the person to wake up, to realize how much they have externalized or how much they have really stretched themselves in a lot of different ways, to where they have to start letting go. Like, oh, wow, whoa. You ever been on a roller coaster ride? They tell you to keep your arms inside the ride. That's kind of what's happened. Humanity's getting just gotten all stretched out, just reaching out, and it's like they got to get the point. It's like, put your hands inside the ride. Let's go. Stop reaching out, trying to touch things, trying to identify and grab things. Put your hands back inside your cart. Don't do anything, right? Just enjoy the ride, okay? Be present. And this kind of what mom's like coaching everybody. Like, everyone's on the big old long line. She's like, all right, everyone, hands and feet inside the ride. All right, we've got this. You're going to make it to the end. It's going to be crazy, but you'll be grateful. And so again, this is where the trust and the love and really the forgiveness comes along, because in order for creation to make it out of this, you look at the mess that we're not even fully aware of what's going on. And for humanity to reach 5D, New Earth, everybody, right? That's like the thing. It's like everyone's like, yeah, I want to go to 5D, and like, you realize everybody's coming. They're like, yeah, everybody. I'm like, everybody, like everybody is coming. They're like, well, there's people we can leave behind, right? Like, no, everybody's coming. They're like, well, why is everybody gotta come? There's some fucked up people on this planet. There's people who've done bad things and all this and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, everybody's coming. Do you get it yet? It's like there's like these like little ladder steps, that people get to, and they're like, okay, I understand it all. I get it all. Like, no, it's all one. It's all one collective. We are all inside God's consciousness now. Therefore, it's all God. Therefore, these are all roles, and we are all participating in a grand show. Therefore, everybody, no matter what roles they took on, no matter what experiences they have chose for themselves, or that they chose for the collective in a lot of ways, and brought into the energies, it's all a show. It's all part of the play out of what's going on. And this is, for a lot of people, we have a big issue accepting this, but it's true. Every single person on this planet is innocent. Every soul, because we're God, and God forgives, yes, one. However, two, humanity did not know what we were doing. Humanity's been deceived, manipulated, betrayed. Of course, can't blame anybody, though. Regardless if that's the experience we chose to have, i.e., that's the key right there in the first part. We chose to have those experiences of being betrayed, of being manipulated, of being deceived and controlled and suppressed. We chose those experiences. Therefore, we can't blame, right? We can't want someone to compensate us for it, right? We just have to move on now and realize that we don't need to choose that for ourselves anymore, because it obviously doesn't feel good. That experience is not awesome to live through. And just let it go. Realize you can have a better experience, and the quicker you move into that focus of that experience, the quicker this other one can be over with, right? So, definitely the forgiveness, moving on, and cutting cords, and learning how to find new processes, new experiences, new things to do, change it up. When you get bored and just like sad or just depressed and not want to do something, it's like, that's like red zone, red tape, caution tape, error. Like, stop immediately and figure something out, because you can't keep going on that way with that energy, because every single moment you're living and breathing, you're manifesting, you're creating. So what are you actually creating with? A whole day of just crap, of just sitting on the couch, being not productive, not motivated, really doing anything, just not caring about anything, not reflecting at all, just being stagnant. Humanity's gotten really good at being stagnant as well. Procrastination. Being aware that there is things, on the plate that need to be, taken care of. Being aware that there are responsibilities, accountabilities, but yet just not feeling like doing it now. Not feeling the ping, the urge to move into right action, to be in alignment, to establish the flow, push energies. Just want to stagnate. Just want to do it at the last minute. And I was one of those people too. It was so bad. I'll tell you, it was so bad in high school and college for those 6 months that I went, and then I quit. And just working after that. The amount of procrastination that I went through is like, if it was sleeping, I would sleep into that last moment I had to get up. If I had to do homework, if I had to do any type of preparation for work the next day or anything like that, I would wait to the last moment to do that. And then I would run through in an impulse, just grabbing things, shoving things, and then I'd probably forget things because I'm trying to now rush and get it done, because now I'm on the time crunch. And I used to have this little this justification I would say out loud, whether someone said something about it, or I just said to myself, just to further validate my disastrous spin I would go into every time, I work better under pressure. So it's I would hijack myself, just put myself in a procrastinated situation where I would know I'm gonna rush in those 10 minutes to get that done, which I should be doing it now an hour before, and I have the moments to, but I'm not doing it now. And that would be it's just self-sabotage. And then I just watch myself go through this crazy spin, and it's for what, And that's where humanity is at in a lot of ways, where it doesn't matter what they do. It's it's a deep, procrastinated, unfulfilled energy. Unmotivated because they're just unfulfilled. There's no purpose. There's nothing inspiring the individual to really create anything or to do anything, to push energies at all. And that inspiration and also the passion is what we really create and build off of. Those are the ideas, the things from our experiences in life that emotionally triggers the things that we have survived in life, that we have overcome, that we have mastered, that we have gotten stronger through. That deep, fiery passion that wants to keep living, wants to keep experiencing life and expanding further, growing into something more, creating itself into something else. That energy is requiring something, like an intention originally, or a step in that direction, or the willingness to even step out to want to create something, or a dream, or have an idea, or allow anything to be received. Opening up, communicating, interacting with other people, and allowing the ideas to start sparking off. And there's sometimes a lot of people spend too much time in their own bubbles, in their own little box, that a lot of times they get out of touch with being able to connect with that creative side of themselves, the passionate, inspirational part where they can come up with something. And that also, by being in that isolated space too, now that they've deprived and exhausted that energy, they're also not interacting with anybody else. They are bypassing and being evasive, when they could be getting those synchronicities through other people, just through work, through talking with someone, going to the grocery store, the person at the cash register, You don't know how they come through until you just allow yourself to just be open to any and all things. But when you have this belief system saying that's supposed to look like something or be a certain way, you're choking that manifestation so much where you're either delaying it for so long, it's going to come a lot later, or it's not going to come at all. Because of the fears, the doubts, the not going to happen, what ifs, blocks it. It gets in the way. And that's ultimately where we keep our focus at a lot of times, is the fear, is the what ifs, is the anxieties that we have, is the stress. Whatever we think is wrong or is going bad, that's what we fret over. And we spend all this conscious thought energy into it all day long. We stress about it when someone asks us, oh, are you okay? And we're like, oh, well, no, this and this. And you go into the whole conversation talking the whole time in a lower, fear-based state, generating that experience right there in that moment to actually happen to you, to come more further into your experience. These things, how in our life, there's a lot of moments in our life where just the dreams that we've had, we've realized we've grown them. You can look back at all the dreams you had since you were like a child, and obviously they've changed. A lot of them have changed. A lot of them have shifted into more of an adult dream, more of a dream that you could say adults can have, or that's like a grown man's dream, or that's a grown woman's dream, but so the child gets second base, they get the back seat, they get pushed back there, and now they have submit to a programmed conditioned adults, and that's what the dream's supposed to be. You really feel they're going to come up with the dreams? No. And most of the people that chase after their dreams and physicality, even the ones that achieve them, they realize they were nothing. They were not what they thought it was going to be. And most of them is because those dreams were sold to them, probably through a television. They were sold to them through word of mouth by their family, their father, mother, whatever, church, military, just whatever upbringing you had. Most of what your dream and your life vision for yourself and being successful, it's been slowly fed to you over your whole life through a lot of other different people. And it could have been people that you looked up to, different authority figures that you respected. And in those moments where you didn't have the self-confidence, when you didn't have your own self-trust, you allowed those people's opinions to weigh more heavily than your own, to a point where yours no longer mattered. You bypassed yours and neglected your own voice and your own truth and awareness and discernment solely because it was easier to receive someone else's and just trust that they already know what they're talking about. To where humanity now is sitting here on a box, a TV, watching things, automatically taking every single thing by a word of mouth as 100% verbatim truth. Absolutely, 100. Pass. I'll put my hand on the Bible and swear on it. Which I would never. So that, the dysfunction it's like a massive spider web. There's so many different lanes of stuff going on this planet, and it's all got to get cleared up. It's all got to get addressed and reflected on and moved through. And as we find the higher ideas, the higher truths, we evolve it. We find higher processes and higher ways of going about loving in those ways. They'll fall away. All these different roadways into where we have a clear, pristine planet, which we will in 5D. It's going to require work. It's going to require transformation. Beings actually having an inspiration, a passion for just that. To have a more evolved, higher vibrational planetary world to live in with the human race in 5D, with our galactic brothers and sisters able to actually visit us physically, land starships on the surface of the planet, mingle with us. We could actually go to other planetary star systems. That's a real experience we could have in the timeline if humanity actually even focused or even cared to even do this, right? But none of that is accessible. None of it is open to us until we can get our interplanetary issues resolved and fixed, and decide as a one collective human race that no longer is going to be part of our behavior. We as not as a country, not as a certain one ethnic race, not as a continent. Like the entire human race itself as a whole has to reach a point where they decide for themselves, we will not display this behavior anymore within ourselves. This is not the reflection of who we are as an embodiment of God. That's going to be a collective idea at some point. It has to. And that's where we'll start taking care of the planet better. We'll start taking care of each other better. And I'm not telling you it has to wait to that point for that to start happening. Do this now. Apply these processes and these practices now. Do this for yourself now. Do this for other people now. And, one by one, as everyone keeps doing that, that's how the whole planet will get to that point where everything we create, we co-create together with ourselves and mom, and what we bring forward, it'll be for the children. It'll be for love. It'll be for a real true foundation, a safe place on this planet where everyone can live and grow and be happy, where joy is a focus, where it's one of the most important focuses that we live by. All these different things, if that was part of our perspective moving forward, there would be a whole different outcome. Because we can see what we're getting by what we're focusing on now and have been focused on the entire time, right? It really needs a flip. That's all there needs to be, done is a flip, and then applying consistency. We're gonna flip it to the higher idea, and we're gonna stay there moving forward, consistently applying it over and over again in practice and discipline. And one by one, each and every one of us are gonna get to that point where it's just gonna click, right? So. I love you all. Thank you all for joining us for the live stream. We will be back live with you all tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Mountain Time, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. And, definitely, again, anyone who has not signed up for a session, that is still a limited time thing going on right now. 50% off in all sessions. So, if you haven't had a session for a while, definitely it would behoove you to get into motion and start applying this part of self-love for yourself. Start applying some form of practice and discipline. The sessions are a really, really good way to get started on that. Getting a clear awareness of where you are energetically, physically, emotionally, all that, all the above, where you are in that now. Therefore, you can actually put a practice and process together based off of where you are right now. Okay, it can give you a lot of awareness and clarity, and just probably more awareness into what's going on, so you can just change, probably a lot more. Your behavioral patterns, choices you're probably making that probably aren't best. But with bouncing this off of somebody, with talking to someone out loud about this and hearing a higher awareness, and clarity, you can provide yourself with better choices that maybe you haven't even thought of yet, because you just simply didn't see things a certain way, right? So help yourself, allow other people to help you, receive, and just stay centered, everybody. The energy is coming pretty soon. We got 2 days out, so keep letting go of everything as quickly as possible. Keep breathing, go ground, drink lots of water. Definitely stay hydrated, as hydrated as possible. There's a lot of releases coming. There's a lot of movement energetically, so the more water in the physical body, the easier you're going to be able to go through processes, and also the better you're going to feel. If you're dehydrated and that energy has to force itself through you, that's what creates inflammation in the body. That's what creates a lot of soreness and tenderness in the body, because the energy is literally stuffing itself through the body, and it doesn't have water. It doesn't have water to pass the energy through quickly. So again, show up for yourself, love yourself, and allow yourself the best, highest experience you possibly can. Not saying it's going to be a great ride the entire time. However, you can do the best you can by supporting yourself and then having trust in mom. Okay, definitely journal, write things down. There's a lot of things to be popping off here soon, so document, express, get it out. Don't sit there with a bunch of rambling thoughts exploding inside your mind. Don't sit there feeling combustible, about to go off inside. Get it out. Say it out loud, write it down, sing it out, whatever you gotta do, cry it out, but get it out. Don't let it stay in, because there's more energy coming in too. So you're going to build up, and then you're going to be like a balloon that's going to pop, So, do a service for yourself, support yourself, and definitely be kind, be gentle, be compassionate, to yourselves and to others, because everyone's going through it. Even though everyone's experience is going to be different from yours, it doesn't mean that they deserve less compassion or more compassion for you. Everything's equal energy exchange, and everything's a reflection, a mirror. So just be love, be the best example of mom you can be, and mom appreciates that, the most. She knows it's not easy for us. God is not disassociated, okay? God is the most present being in creation, and she fully knows how hard this process is to go through. However, God can't give us easy breaks. She has to keep pushing us forward because she knows what we have to go through to get to the other side. So she's the drill sergeant, she's the coach, and she's also the lifeguard too. So she's not going to let you fall. So trust her. She's got your back. Love will show you the way. Okay? We love you all. Take care of yourselves. We'll be back tomorrow.